Part 44. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Me. Chapter 432. Different from eternity, the paradox. After revealing the true form, the gears on the body rotate in disorder. Outsiders can never guess whether those gears will move forward or backward. But in fact, time has already determined everything. If eternity looks like a stable order, then the appearance of paradox can be said to be destined to be disordered. Lord. Wei An's voice came from the Lord again. Instead of thinking about some unrealistic truth, why don't we kill your enemies together? After all, only the winner has the right to write the truth, and only the truth written by the winner is real. Listening to Wei An's persuasive tone, Gao Qiang gradually came back to his senses. Looking around, everyone looked at him with affirmative eyes. The truth, even truth, and falsehood, does not matter. Gao Qiang gradually understood this. To a certain extent, Sasha and the others are closer to the fake NPCs in the game than Gao Qiang. But in Gao Qiang's eyes, they are real, no different from the lords in those war games. Only the winner is qualified to write the truth. Then there is no need to deny yourself before you fail. Yeah, I didn't lose either. A smile appeared on Gao Qiang's lips. Although I don't know what Paradox meant by letting him see these scenes, it is obvious that Paradox lost in the end. Because there are still everyone standing behind him, and the wisdom of countless ancestors is protecting him, so that he does not have to think about these things at all. Just like the geocentric theory that Katrina asked him to choose. Heliocentrism may once have been true, but when they defeat the sun, geocentrism will become the only truth. Because, they are the winners. And now, even in the face of time, he will never lose. Gao Qiang suddenly took out from his clothes the gift that the evil of civilization gave him when he left last time. Key to civilization. Introduction. The symbol of friendship that is the evil of civilization. If you don't plan to make her into balls, then your friendship can last for a long time. Effect. When facing the Time Lord, you can summon a civilized evil individual who specializes in time to fight together. The moment the key to civilization was taken out by Gao Qiang, the head of the key involuntarily pointed in the direction of the paradox. Immediately afterwards, a huge force surged out of the key, and it flew out of Gao Qiang's hand and flew towards the paradox. As the key of civilization penetrated into Paradox's body, a female body holding a spear slowly appeared in front of everyone. The long-lost evil of civilization has been brought to a world that does not belong to it. Enemy, friend. Civilization's evil eyes were confused for a moment, and then instantly confirmed the current scene. With the help of his friends, he once again found his old enemy. The enemy shall be terminated. The evil of civilization raised its spear and stabbed at the paradox. The spear was stuck in the middle of the gears of the paradox, and due to the irregular operation of the gears, it was broken in just a moment. Looking at Paradox thoughtfully, the evil of civilization seemed to realize something. Immediately afterwards, the spears regrouped and stepped into the paradox. What is she doing? Ever since the evil of civilization appeared, Gao Qiang's eyes had not left her body. Nowadays, it feels a bit strange to see the evil of civilization enter the body of Paradox alone. But the next moment, Paradox's body in the sky suddenly trembled violently. Giant gears fell from the sky and smashed into the yellow sand, causing countless yellow sands to spread. But the strange movements in the sky have not stopped yet. Countless gray-white spores grew out of Paradox's body, spreading bit by bit throughout Paradox's body, giving Paradox's appearance an old tone. Gao Qiang has an illusion. Paradox is getting old and being terminated. Another law has come, and his life will end at this moment. At this moment, the war game prompt sounded at the same time. The Time Lords are all destroyed. The Time Lords in this game have been declared dead. A race has disappeared in the shadow of this era. What does this mean? Really, it's over? Watching the body completely covered with gray-white spores in the sky falling towards the ground, and finally being rolled into the yellow sand and disappearing, Gao Qiang still seemed a little unbelievable. As a mythical race among mythical races, the Time Lords were actually killed here. The war game prompt sounded again at this time. Congratulations to the human race for achieving their victory goal, victory in the war. This war game is about to enter the settlement stage. Seeing this prompt, countless Sanren lords from the human race looked happy and instantly chose to enter the settlement. They really couldn't stay any longer during the day of fighting against the swarm of insects. However, there are exceptions. Before leaving, Feng Zhou came up to Gao Qiang and winked at Gao Qiang. "What are you doing?" Gao Qiang felt a little chilly for a moment. This guy, doesn't he have a crush on himself? Fortunately, Feng Zhou's next words were not a confession. "I sent you an application, remember to read it?" After that, Feng Zhou's figure disappeared in front of Gao Qiang. In short, he survived the battle and became one of the winners. As for the process, it seems that there is no need to mention it so much. Seeing Feng Zhou leave, Gao Qiang curiously opened several interfaces, and then saw a friend request from Feng Zhou in the friend interface. Verification information, add a friend, add a friend, add a friend. Looking at this somewhat ridiculous verification information, Gao Qiang smiled helplessly and approved Feng Zhou's friend request. After doing all this, Gao Qiang retracted his gaze and looked at the other people around him. "Lord, it's time to say goodbye again, right?" Zhu Luo asked with a smile. "Next time, it shouldn't make us wait too long, right?" "Yeah." Gao Qiang nodded. With the changes of the times, he seemed to have more and more reasons to go to the infinite battlefield, and at the same time, he wanted to go to the infinite battlefield more and more. Next time, it should be very fast. "Then, we'll wait for you." After saying goodbye to Zhu Luo and others, Gao Qiang also confirmed the settlement and disappeared on the spot. In the planetary orbit, in the control room of the Master, Wei An's figure gradually faded as Gao Qiang left. Zilla. The hatch of the control room suddenly opened, and Katrina's figure appeared behind Wei An. "You shouldn't exist," Katrina said lightly. "Yes, my existence is a mistake." Wei An turned around and smiled lightly at Katrina. "But I still appear here, just because I want to come back and take a look. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire?" Author, Mi Shida Di. Chapter 433. "Do you think it will be him?" Another old voice sounded. Gao Yuan walked slowly into the control room with his hands behind his back, and said an intriguing sentence, "Go one step further." "No, I don't think so." Vian looked to the side and shook his head. "There are countless people stronger than him, but everyone failed, right? In comparison, he will not be the exception." The control room fell into silence for a moment. Gao Yuan then asked again, "Then why did you come back?" "For the war." Vian turned his head and smiled, "Is it a legitimate reason?" "But I am obviously disappointed." "Katrina is right, I shouldn't be here, this is no longer my era. Although this is our first meeting, it's goodbye to the two of you, or, never see you again." After the voice fell, Vian's figure disappeared, as if he had never appeared. "He won't come back again," Katrina confirmed. Gao Yuan nodded, "Maybe it's not a bad thing. What happened in the Master is unknown to others." But on the ground, since Gao Qiang left, Bai Hexio has been holding his stomach and making a painful gesture. "Xiaobai, what's wrong with you?" Sasha poked Bai Hexio's stomach, causing Bai Hexio to cry out in pain. Don't poke." Bai Hexio raised his hand and stopped Sasha's action. "My stomach hurts so much, and I feel like vomiting." After hearing this, Zhu Luo looked at Bai Hexio thoughtfully. "Is it, pregnant?" Thinking of it this way, Bai Hexio seemed to have taken the living goat eggs directly with his hands, and several people still didn't know the function of the miracle item until now. Could it be that the function of the miracle item is to make people give birth to children? You guys should help me think of a way. Hexia was a little tearful. He is still a child, why is he going to give birth? If he had known it would be like this, he shouldn't have done unnecessary things and reached out to take something he had never seen before. On the other side, Gao Qiang has entered the settlement screen of the war game. Skipping the endless war coins, Gao Qiang directly entered the reward selection. Since you are participating in the total war against the Zerg, and your total contribution is 99%, you can take away any miracle or the following items you have owned and use them in your future games. In the selection interface, Gao Qiang unexpectedly saw the option of the Key of Civilization. It seems that his friendship with the evil of civilization did not end with the death of a Time Lord. Do you still want to go with me? Gao Qiang asked softly. Of course, he could not get any answer. But Gao Qiang did not hesitate at all and chose to take out the Key of Civilization. As for the next step of land waiting, Gao Qiang directly skipped watching and quickly ended the settlement. The screen turned, and the Saint City planet appeared in front of Gao Qiang again. Standing on the land of the Saint again, Gao Qiang suddenly realized a key problem. That is, although he only threw the planet defiled by the Zerg out of orbit this time, he actually did not know how many Zerg lords died. Can the Saints eat the land belonging to the Zerg? Just when Gao Qiang was worried, suddenly, a scene like the end of the world appeared in front of him. A bright red land made of flesh and blood was descending. It was from the Zerg's nest. Looking at the land, there were countless milky white larvae pupating in the blood soil. This is also a powerful advantage of the Zerg. Stronger reproductive ability, more warlords. It seems that this time I have brought back a lot of trouble. A voice sounded from Gao Qiang's ears. Gao Qiang turned his head and saw a woman in a white robe. Seeing Gao Qiang staring at her, the woman's face blushed slightly, and then she covered herself with a hood. My name is Darcy. Well, it doesn't matter if you haven't heard of me. After introducing his name very simply, Darcy raised his head slightly and looked up with a narrow vision under the hood. Don't worry, we have enough countermeasures for any emergency. As soon as Darcy finished speaking, the Zerg land that was about to be incorporated into the urban planet was suddenly pulled to another corner. A spherical transparent cover appeared on the planetary orbit, directly wrapping the Zerg land in it. Feeling something strange, countless Zerg swarms frantically flew out of the land and crashed into the cover. But in the end, they only used their flesh to add a bit of blood color to the cover. Darcy smiled. It seems that our new friends like their new home very much. Then if you still want to stay here to watch, then watch for a while. I still have something to do, so I won't stay for now. After that, Darcy walked away. What a strange woman. Gao Qiang glanced at Darcy's back strangely, not knowing why she appeared here. At this time, Ling Yinan's message came from the friend list. Pilgrim, it's great that you're okay. Do you need me to arrange the next battle for you? Or do you need to rest for a while? No need, Gao Qiang immediately replied, just help me find a suitable battle situation. What is the request this time? Ling Yinan continued to ask. Of course, no matter what the request is, I will help you prevent the situation of Bai group this time. No, no need. Gao Qiang immediately rejected Ling Yinan's proposal. Rather, I hope you will do more for this. Although the Bai group is not a foreign force, it must be said that the other party did play a positive role in Gao Qiang's awakening. Of course, it is a bit difficult to say how much credit the Time Lord has for this. Suddenly, Gao Qiang's eyes lit up. Yes, since Ling Yinan is concerned about his relationship with him and can't let go, why doesn't he seek help from the Bai group? Thinking of this, Gao Qiang immediately opened the friend list and contacted Feng Zhou, who had just added a friend not long ago. Are there any recommendations for battle situations where humans are about to fail? Seeing Gao Qiang sent a message. Although it was strange why Gao Qiang asked such a question, Feng Zhou still gave a quick reply. There are many. I happen to know a lot of battles that are hopeless and almost doomed to fail. Why, are you going to turn the tide again? Feng Zhou's last sentence was obviously joking. But he didn't expect Gao Qiang to actually answer seriously, yes. You. Feng Zhou didn't know what to say for a moment. Forget it. This is the specific information of the battle, you can decide whether to go or not. Soon, a piece of relevant information was sent to Gao Qiang by Feng Zhou through the friend interface. The first thing that caught my eye was, Space Age, Level 7. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 434. Space Age. In Building 1, Qianyuan Street, Ling Yan'an sat opposite Gao Qiang, frowning as she looked at the information Gao Qiang handed over. Are you sure you want to go to this kind of battle? Even though she was desperate, she took many factors into consideration when she helped Gao Qiang find the battle. Like the battle between the Bioconsortium and the Zerg, although it was a losing situation, the Zerg had at least cleared out many lords of other races. After entering the battle, the human lords only needed to lose a part of them, and the Zerg would be able to win the final victory. In other words, if Gao Qiang was really defeated, as long as he hid better than others, there would be no danger to his life. But the battle that Feng Zhou found seemed to Ling Yan'an to be a joke. He really wanted to find one if there was danger. According to the information provided by Feng Zhou, in this 7th level battlefield called the Space Age, the two strongest races have reached a temporary offensive and defensive alliance. After decades of development, the human race was trapped in several small galaxies through several star-level sky-building fortresses, and they were determined not to stop until the human race was exterminated. This is not a war that can be ended in a short time. It's just that humans will definitely fail in a short time. And after the failure, there will probably be very few lords who can survive, and even 10 of them will die. Thinking of this, Ling Yan'an rubbed his forehead with a headache. If you really go to such a place, if something goes wrong, no one will save you even if the price is high. And do you understand who the enemy of the human race is in that battle? I understand. Gao Qiang blinked and nodded. According to the information sent by the Bioconsortium, aren't the main enemies in that battle the Eldar and the Scholar civilization? Boom. Ling Yan'an slapped the table and stood up. Knowing that you still want to go. Turning on the screen behind him, Ling Yan'an projected the images of the two races onto it. One of the races has a translucent body and no independent eyes, but is replaced by several elliptical bright spots. Gao Qiang can learn from the data that this is the appearance of the Eldar. This race has a special energy field, so that they can manipulate technological items more conveniently than humans, and create many technological props that humans cannot understand and use at all. At the same time, this energy field can also protect their fragile bodies from external harm. The other image on the screen is naturally the appearance of the Scholar civilization. As a super high-level intelligent group, the Scholar civilization has confirmed its most perfect form through countless optimizations and transformations. In the eyes of humans, their appearance is similar to that of jellyfish, but not exactly the same. The Scholar civilization has a huge exposed brain, which is not protected by the skull, and only a thin layer of cover like a transparent balloon covers the outside of the brain. They have slender fingers and can complete writing and operations far more delicately than humans. At the same time, there are several retractable synapses in their brains, which can be connected to the products of their own civilization when needed to convert life signals and information signals. It can be said that the status of the two in the advanced battlefield is similar to that of humans, both of which are relatively late-stage races that rely on technological products. However, this duplication of positioning did not allow all parties to move forward hand in hand. On the contrary, because of similar positioning, several races always regard each other as thorns in the eye and thorns in the flesh. If possible, they would never mind letting the other party be eliminated first. And the battle situation that Feng Zhou is looking for is just such a situation. The Eldar and the Scholar civilization have reached a strong alliance. As the technology of both sides reaches its peak, humans will definitely lose, and even annihilation is not impossible. Ling Yan'an slapped the screen. Okay, even if you have your own methods, let's not talk about these for now. But you have also seen the battlefield area of the Thousand Stars era. The battlefield area of the Space Age is conservatively estimated to be more than 100,000 times that of the Thousand Stars era. With the battlefield area of the Space Age, even if all the Saints join this war, they can't make a small splash. Your own strength, do you want to stir up a huge wave in the sea? Seeing that Gao Qiang did not respond, thinking that she had convinced Gao Qiang, Ling Yan'an sat down again and persuaded him earnestly. I think the Bio Consortium pushed this battle situation to you. I am afraid they still have the intention to get rid of you. Since AICR entrusted you to me, I must be responsible for you. It is better to have less contact with such guys with ulterior motives. Speaking of this, Ling Yan'an found that Gao Qiang had not replied, and couldn't help pushing Gao Qiang. Hey, are you listening? Ah. Gao Qiang shuddered, suddenly awakened from his distraction, and looked at Ling Yan'an blankly. Are you done? So can you help me arrange the entry point? You. Seeing Gao Qiang's look, Ling Yan'an was furious for a moment. So you just ignored what I said just now, right? Haha, don't be angry, don't be angry. Seeing that Ling Yan'an was really angry, Gao Qiang hurriedly laughed, but made Ling Yan'an even angrier. A road pass was thrown at Gao Qiang's chest. I won't hurt you. What kind of magic potion did those bastards from the Bio group give you that makes you trust them so much? Okay. Go. Don't come back if you go. Gao Qiang caught the guide that fell from his chest and blinked. What is this? Recalling the scene of Eixier and others using the guide, Gao Qiang subconsciously pointed the guide to the side. Instantly, a passage leading to an unknown plane appeared in front of Gao Qiang. Gao Qiang understood instantly. If the 7th level battlefield is really as huge as Ling Yan'an said, the small urban planet of Saint is definitely not suitable as an entry point. Thinking of this, Gao Qiang stepped towards the passage and waved goodbye to Ling Yan'an behind him. Wait for me to go to the infinite battlefield first, and then I will come back to see you. You. Seeing that Gao Qiang really left without hesitation, Ling Yan'an stomped her feet angrily. You don't listen to my good advice, I don't think you will live to enter the infinite battlefield. But at this time, the entrance of the passage outlined by the guide had disappeared, and Ling Yan'an's words obviously did not reach Gao Qiang's ears. Do you need me to go again? A cold female voice came from behind Ling Yan'an. Ling Yan'an turned slightly and bowed to the person behind him. Sir. There is no need to do this. Darcy walked out of the corner and waved to Ling Yan'an. Ling Yan'an also recovered in time and rejected Darcy's proposal. Excuse me, even if you go there, it may be useless. With the hugeness of the 7th level battlefield, the role of the cursed land will be greatly compressed. And we can't afford the price of the curse failing. Well. Darcy nodded and fell silent. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mi Shi De. Chapter 435. A few days later, Gao Qiang walked out of the passage of the guide. He didn't know what happened to Ling Yan'an after he left. But from the messages he received from time to time in the friend list, Ling Yan'an didn't really ignore him because of his departure. She even tried her best to help him find a suitable battle situation, trying to dispel Gao Qiang's idea of entering the space age. What a pity. Gao Qiang shook his head. it should be difficult for others to understand what danger means to him. As the saying goes, the bigger the wind and waves, the more expensive the fish. In terms of the territory characteristics of the fallen empire, the more dangerous the place, the greater the role Gao Qiang can play, and the faster it is. If humans have an absolute advantage, Gao Qiang may not even have the opportunity to awaken. By then, he may really have to paddle for decades and be trapped in a battle situation. Gao Qiang shuddered at the thought of this. Although he is now over 18 years old, he is at most a late youth, and there is still a lot of time in the future. But think about being trapped in the same battle until the age of 80, becoming a gray-haired old man. You don't want to think about this. It's better to go to the most dangerous place. Recovering his mind, Gao Qiang looked at the land that the guide brought him to. This is a desolate planet with only a thin atmosphere. It's empty and there is nothing. There is no place more suitable for a lord like Gao Qiang who has too much power to enter the war game than here. Ling Yan'an must have spent a lot of effort to find such a place. Thinking of this, Gao Qiang felt warm in his heart. But he still didn't follow Ling Yan'an's arrangement. Instead, he directly opened the friend interface and entered the space age through the coordinates for help sent by Feng Zhou. With a strong sense of stretching, Gao Qiang's perspective spun around, and in a blink of an eye he came to a vast universe. This universe is too huge. Gao Qiang can only see a few twinkling stars through his naked eyes. There is nothing else. When we swim from underwater to the sea of stars, our progress will no longer be hindered by the tiny space. Welcome to Space Age. The cutscene CG passed in front of Gao Qiang's eyes. Gao Qiang only felt that he was speeding through the universe, passing planets, stars, light, and darkness. The entire universe was reflected in Gao Qiang's eyes while rotating. Then, countless threads of different colors suddenly emerged from the originally unrelated galaxies, extending in all directions. The starting point of those threads represents the start of civilization, and countless newborn races are exploring this world they have never known with longing eyes. Then, the threads began to connect, and different civilizations began to collide with each other. The threads began to break and began to devour each other, until one color completely disappeared, and then they would stop their steps for a short time. In the end, there were only 3 colors of threads left in the entire universe, woven into a charming big net. Is this the beginning of the space age? No. This is the history of this war. Looking at the charming web, Gao Qiang's eyes gradually became more obsessed. So beautiful. Mumbling in his mouth, his footsteps couldn't help but move forward. Until the moment when he was about to approach the big net, Gao Qiang suddenly stopped. It seems that something is wrong? His eyes instantly regained clarity, and Gao Qiang looked at the big net in front of him vigilantly. He suddenly realized that the 3-color silk threads in front of him represented the human, the Eldar, and the scholar civilization. According to the experience of the first 2 war worlds, the CG at this time should not be like this. As the beginning of the space age, how could the future battle situation of the space age be used as the opening CG? Unless, this is a bait. After realizing this, Gao Qiang took a step back and looked vigilantly at the center of the big net. Sure enough, Gao Qiang vaguely saw a grinning spider face, hiding behind countless galaxies. These silk threads are simply the spider web spit out by him. The more clearly he recognized the other party, the less influence Gao Qiang felt the other party had on him. After quickly moving away from these threads, Gao Qiang immediately entered the preparation stage of the war game. Opening the interference interface, Gao Qiang saw an unexpected visitor in the race list of the interference interface. It was not the expected Time Lord, but the Dreamweaver who had come here after smelling the blood, but was successfully expelled by the Time Lord. Puff puff puff. A strange laugh sounded from Gao Qiang's ears. At this moment, Gao Qiang couldn't even tell whether he was really in the preparation stage, or had already fallen into the big net woven by the Dreamweaver and entered a false dream. But this is actually very easy to judge. Gao Qiang's eyes flashed, and he selected the only lord whose race was the Dreamweaver from the interference interface. Interference. As the number of interferences decreased by 1, Gao Qiang did not receive the news of successful interference. Interference. Interference was carried out again, and the remaining number of interferences decreased by 1 again. Then, Gao Qiang tried to interfere several times, until the number of times he could interfere entered a negative number, and then he finally confirmed the current situation. He fell into the dream woven by the Dreamweaver first. Based on Gao Qiang's one-sided understanding of the Dreamweaver, he only knew that the Dreamweaver could weave a real dream, and death in a dream was real death. But he didn't know whether this dream was linked to reality or whether it was a false world in his mind. What on earth are these mythical creatures thinking? They are pestering me every day, right? After cursing inwardly, Gao Qiang hurriedly ended the preparation stage. He saw the Dreamweaver behind the spider web getting closer and closer to him. Without being able to interfere with it and clean it up, every minute and every second of contact with the Dreamweaver alone was a real pressure. Fortunately, the preparation stage can be successfully completed. After the preparation stage, Gao Qiang's figure flashed and flew to an extremely remote corner of the universe. If Gao Qiang could memorize all the contents of the big web just now, he would realize that this galaxy is not in the root of any race. As Gao Qiang left, the gradually emerging spider face flashed an inexplicable look in its eyes, and then its figure gradually faded and retreated behind countless star clusters. Lord! When Gao Qiang came to his senses, the figure of the Dreamweaver had disappeared, and the face that appeared in front of Gao Qiang was Sasha's face. Sasha poked Gao Qiang's face with a fried shrimp, and when Gao Qiang came back to his senses, she swallowed the fried shrimp in one gulp. It's time to eat, what are you distracted about, Lord? Ah, is that so? Gao Qiang looked around and found himself in a cafeteria, which should be a corner of his territory. Many people Gao Qiang knew were eating here, and even Lei Heshuo and Haiyukan, who hadn't seen him for a long time, took out their hands to greet Gao Qiang. But among them, only Weian and Bai Hexia were missing. Where is Xiaobai? Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mi Shida Di. Chapter 436. Xiaobai, she's gone to give birth, Sasha said casually. However, after hearing what Sasha said, Gao Qiang took a step back cautiously. He looked at Sasha and Zhuoluo and others who had just walked over with a scrutinizing look. Gao Qiang hesitated and asked, "Are you also fantasies in dreams?" Huh? Sasha tilted her head in confusion. Lord, what are you talking about? What's the dream or not? Seeing that no one responded, Gao Qiang hesitated a little and told everyone about the arrival of the Dreamweaver. In fact, it doesn't make any difference whether to say it or not. If the people in front of him are really the dreams woven by the Dreamweaver, then the real body of the Dreamweaver must be hiding in the dark and watching him. He knew very well that he had realized his existence, and pretending was simply ineffective for him. In fact, Gao Qiang felt that pretending to ignore the other party would make it easier to pull himself into the bottomless abyss. Half an hour later, after listening to Gao Qiang's explanation of the Dreamweaver, Zhuoluo nodded as if he had suddenly realized something. You mean, you may have entered a real dream now, and you think that we are also false? Yeah, Gao Qiang nodded. He had reason to think so. Xiaobai is a boy, how can a boy have a child? Does the Dreamweaver not follow the logic of reality when weaving dreams? However, at this time, Gao Qiang glanced and found that many people who were eating in the cafeteria had a strange smile on their lips. Why did they suddenly laugh? Gao Qiang subconsciously stood up and took a few steps back, bumping into a soft figure. Ouch! Hearing a cry of pain from behind, Gao Qiang turned around and saw a girl with a crooked officer's hat. What are you doing, Lord? The girl said dissatisfiedly. Gao Qiang was about to apologize, but a hand was placed on his shoulder at this time. He tilted his head and saw that Zhulo's mouth also had an intriguing smile. She asked a question, "Lord, is what you just said true? We are now in the dream web woven by the dream weaver, and this dream will take us back to our most vulnerable moment." Facing the strange smile in Zhulo's expression, Gao Qiang said uncertainly, "Maybe, is it true? Really? That's it?" Zhulo's eyes flashed with a trace of reminiscence. The most vulnerable moment. That's a scene that only appeared in our dreams. Not only Zhulo, Gao Qiang found that everyone in the cafeteria had this inexplicable look in their eyes. Then, Gao Qiang suddenly felt that the alloy floor under his feet was sinking. "Your territory, Wall of Size, has been destroyed by the Dream Weaver Lord Elvis. In this war game, you will lose your territory type, Fallen Empire." The reminder sound of the war game sounded from Gao Qiang's ears. "But, how is it possible?" Gao Qiang widened his eyes. In the past, even in the most extreme situations, his territory still stood firm. But now, just because of a few inexplicable chats, he lost his most reliable shelter. No, this is a dream constructed by the Dream Weaver. Thinking of this, Gao Qiang calmed his mind slightly. But the sinking continued. Gao Qiang felt as if he was flushed into the vortex of the toilet, and the whole person was dizzy. He didn't know how long this state would last. But according to Gao Qiang's dreaming experience since childhood, once he fell into the state in a dream, he was either about to get up or fall into a deeper dream. Obviously, in the dream woven by the Dream Weaver, getting up is definitely a luxury. In a trance, a cold little hand was held in Gao Qiang's palm. Gao Qiang turned his head and found that the one holding his hand was the girl he had just bumped into. "You." Seeing Gao Qiang looking at him, the girl responded with a sweet smile. At this time, the reminder of the war game appeared again. "Your territory type, Brilliant Empire." Pa. Two landing sounds were heard, and Gao Qiang finally got rid of the spinning state that was like being flushed into the toilet, and stood steadily on the ground. At this moment, he was in an extremely large combat base, and the cafeteria where he was originally located had disappeared without a trace. And the bustling technicians around were running back and forth, without any slackness at all. "We are back." Zhulo's voice sounded from behind Gao Qiang. As the voice fell, all the screens in the combat base lit up at the same time, showing the picture in the universe. Vertical warships covered the sky and earth, occupying almost every corner as far as the eye could see. "If your dream will take us back to the most vulnerable period, this is it," Zhulo explained. "It is hard to imagine that in everyone's consciousness, the most vulnerable period is also their most prosperous period." Facing the endless sea of warships on the screen, even the most decadent people showed extremely fanatical eyes at this moment. Zhulo stretched out his hand and pointed at the screen. "We know all our weaknesses at that time, but we were so brilliant that day that we shouldn't have faced failure." At this time, the network signal showed that 401 was full and appeared in the center of the screen, showing a smiling emoticon to Gao Qiang. "Welcome to our past, Lord." As if realizing something, Gao Qiang subconsciously opened his territory interface. Sure enough, the territory type has changed to something he has never seen before. Territory type, Brilliant Empire. Brilliant Empire. Introduction: this empire is moving from ignorance to glory. They are full of vitality, they are young and vigorous, and have long been ready to conquer all unknowns. The mysterious spider web cannot bind them, and the difficult walls cannot stop their way forward. When they took the unstoppable first step, the whole universe was shaking for them. "I am the one who shines brightly, and the heavens have given me the blessing of all nations. I am boundless, and I share the same virtues with you, /. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 437. Lord, Lord. Hearing a desperate call from behind, Gao Qiang realized that there was another girl holding his hand. Oh, sorry. Quickly letting go of his hand, Gao Qiang looked at the energetic girl in front of him who was a head shorter than him. The crooked hat, the casually turned up collar, and the military uniform made her look like casual clothes. He, the girl saluted. Investigator Qin Sui reports to you, Lord. The special fleet is ready, and your will is the direction of our blades. Please give the order, Lord. After listening to Qin Sui's self-introduction, Gao Qiang opened the girl's interface and took a look. In the interface, Qin Sui has been automatically appointed as the commander-in-chief of the special fleet, with more than 13,000 special ships of various types. At the same time, several golden entries are also hung on Qin Sui's panel. Qin Sui. Profession, Investigator. Entries, Sui Sui is safe, Sui Sui has more than enough, Sui Sui is happy, Yi Sui is worth 1,000 golds. Sui Sui is safe, this unit has a very high luck value, and sometimes produces unexpected surprises. Sui Sui has more than enough, when this unit is the commander, the number of times our energy weapons can be fired before overheating increases by 10%, at least one increase. Sui Sui is happy, when this unit is in our territory and performs spy missions, our happiness increases by 50. Yi Sui is worth 1,000 golds, when this unit is sold, all existing supplies of the buyer will be forcibly harvested. Forced to harvest all existing supplies. When Gao Qiang saw Yi Sui is worth 1,000 golds, his eyelids raised. With such a perverted entry, it can be seen that the girl in front of him is really expensive. And isn't it suspected that this moment is in a dream woven by the dream weaver? There are actually people with such a terrifying entry. Taking another glance at the more than 13,000 warships under Qin Sui's command, Gao Qiang couldn't help but want to ask a question. Ask the Dreamweaver whether it is a beautiful dream or a nightmare. Throughout the period of the Fallen Empire and the Awakening Empire, Gao Qiang has never dreamed of fighting such a rich war. Moreover, it seems that Qin Sui is not the only one. Gao Qiang looked at the rest of the people present. Except for Shasha and Zhuluo who did not lead the fleet, there were exactly 5 people with fleet command power, including Qin Sui. Except for Qin Sui who had just been seen. Lei Heshuo had a Tyrannosaurus fleet consisting of more than 100,000 warships under his command, and Huanzhiro had an assault fleet consisting of more than 100,000 warships under his command. Both of them were relatively standard fleets, and they seemed to be used for frontal combat. But other than that, Gao Qiang looked at Lian Qian, who was waving a folding fan and sipping green tea. Lian Qian still looked like the big sister next door. But under her command, she has a main fleet of 500,000, and she is also the person who commands the largest fleet in the current combat base. The last person is Hayukin. As a material officer, Hayukin has a dispatch fleet of 30,000 ships for support and replenishment. The total fleet size is close to 800,000 ships. To be honest, when Gao Qiang was preparing to enter this war game, he didn't think that he would have so many starships under his command. If this is really a dream, then Gao Qiang hopes that he will never wake up. As for the dream weaver waiting to eat him in the dream, creating such a dream for himself, is he really not afraid of breaking his big teeth? However, as a mythical race, the traces of the dream weaver should not be so easy to find. Seeing Qin Sui still standing in front of him waiting for him to issue a task, Gao Qiang waved his hand to comfort him for the time being. Then he opened the star map and began to carefully check the situation of the war game. When the star map was opened, 3 color areas appeared in front of Gao Qiang. They are the yellow area representing the Eldar, the green area representing the Scholar civilization, and the blue area representing humans. However, compared with the yellow and green areas, the blue area is pitifully small, and is even surrounded by several skull icons. No Dreamweaver, Gao Qiang muttered, but he was not disappointed. When he faced eternity, he had already realized this. Some mythical races may hide in very strange corners, such as the time-stop space of the miracle path. And Gao Qiang's map can only show everything in the observable environment. Therefore, it is not easy to find the mythical races that deliberately hide. When Gao Qiang was thinking about the Dreamweaver, new changes appeared in the star map again. Light spots began to appear at the skulls of the yellow and green sides, gradually compressing the living space of the blue area. However, the blue area did not surrender. Whenever the blue lost an area, it would take it back in a very short time. But that was all. Facing the siege of the two, the blue had no chance of breaking through. Even when they were exhausted from fighting, they seemed to be a little powerless in the war. In this war, humans are really miserable. Gao Qiang touched his chin and said. Feng Zhou really picked a good place for him. But this can't be blamed on the human lords in the war. The Eldar and the Scholar civilization are obviously more suitable for the late-stage environment than humans. Both of them already have the upper hand, and they are joining forces to kick humans out of the war first. I think without a strong leader, humans can't do anything about them. But, I'm here. 401, help me find where there are miracles left in the universe now. After giving the order to 401, Gao Qiang quickly learned the information he wanted to know. That is, none. You're right, in the current war, there is no miracle left in the entire universe. Humans, Eldar, and scholars are all highly intelligent creatures. Since the long war, miracles have long been developed. After a long war, the miracles owned by each party have either been worn out on the battlefield or used to improve their own combat effectiveness. If you really need miracles, I have a plan. 401 suggested. Tell me about it. Seeing Gao Qiang's permission, 401 immediately gave his own plan. The star map was pulled closer to Gao Qiang, and then several skulls surrounding the blue area were taken out and enlarged separately. Several terrifying behemoths appeared on the screen, and there were countless fleets protecting them. As you can see now, these are the star-level sky-building fortresses built by the Eldar and the Scholar civilization. According to my analysis, each sky-building fortress was enhanced by miracle items when it was built. You only need to get the cores of 3 of the sky-building fortresses, and then I should be able to create an artificial miracle for you. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 438. Good. Looking at the plan given by 401, Gao Qiang has made up his mind. There is no trace of the Dreamweaver for the time being, so this matter can be put aside for now. In contrast, he wanted to advance his own way first. Because just now, he had already thought of the wish he wanted to make this time. Just do as you say. As for everyone. At this point, Gao Qiang paused. Because he found that when he agreed to plan 401, everyone around him had already gone to the designated location of the combat base and began to dispatch their respective fleets. Everyone is really hard-working. Gao Qiang didn't know what to say for a moment. It clearly felt like I was in a dream, but in the end, he didn't need to direct me. Well, a few people didn't leave. Among them, Shasha and Zhuluo were always by his side. The only one left is Qin Sui. Aren't you going? Gao Qiang was a little confused. Qin Sui shook her head and blinked at Gao Qiang. You haven't assigned me a task yet, Lord. Seeing Qin Sui's obedient appearance, Gao Qiang felt a little touched for a moment. Look, this is a serious leader, okay. What the hell are those other subjects who only have 80% execution efficiency in their dreams? So what the Lord wants is to get the core inside those iron lumps. Qin Sui pointed to the location of several star-level fortresses in the picture and asked knowingly. Seeing Gao Qiang nodding, Qin Sui smiled slightly. Sushui knows. Calculating the time, the corresponding battleship should have arrived at the port, so Sushui will go first, Lord. Waving towards Gao Qiang, the floor Qin Sui stepped on turned into an elevator, sending Qin Sui downwards. After Qin Sui left, Zhuluo came to Gao Qiang and looked at Gao Qiang with a smile. Then, Lord, do you need to eat first? When Gao Qiang temporarily left the combat base, the guarding lords of the two races connected the communication channels in several star-level sky tower fortresses. An Eldar lord with a light blue shimmer all over his body first appeared on the screen. This year's 47th battle, report on the combat situation. Successful advancement distance, 91 light-years, lost distance, 91 light-years, actual occupied area, none. Report completed. Another figure soon appeared on the screen. Judging from its jellyfish-like appearance, it was the Lord of the Scholar civilization. And he directly satirized the Eldar's report on the results of the war. According to our judgment, this kind of invalid results report is completely meaningless, and it does not help our winning algorithm in any way. The Eldar lords were not silent about it. Instead, he directly countered, if your winning algorithm is really useful, then humans should have been extinct 10 years ago. Hearing this, several synapses in the scholar's civilized lord's brain stretched, clearly showing an angry attitude. Elma, are you questioning the great wisdom of scholarly civilization? No, no, no. The Eldar lord who reported the results of the battle shook his head. The energy field fluctuated around him, even distorting the picture in the communication channel. Gustav, I have never questioned your intelligence. Because something that does not exist cannot be questioned. Elma. Angry voices resounded throughout the communication channel. It can be seen from the picture that the tentacles extending from Gustav's brain have been inserted into the special slot next to him. Anyone who is familiar with him knows that this is a precursor to his taking control of the fleet. Compared to humans, I want to kill you directly now. Facing Gustav's anger, Alma shook her head in disdain. I must reiterate that the Eldar's alliance with you is only temporary. When the human race becomes extinct, I will peel off your skin with my own hands and put you under the flames to dry your flesh. Seeing that the quarrel between the two sides was getting worse, the other lords on both sides hurriedly came out to mediate. Say less, Alma. At least for now, we are still allies with the scholar civilization. The speaker was also an Eldar lord. Those currently staying in the channel are all the owners of various Jingtian fortresses, and there is actually no distinction between them in terms of status. But after being persuaded, Irma quickly stopped arguing with Gustav. The same goes for Gustav. They all understand that their disputes do not come from themselves, but from their respective races. Their race needs and at the same time acquiesces in their dispute, so as to draw the boundaries between the two sides. Alma is right. After humans become extinct, they will transform from loyal allies to warring enemies. War has always been like this. So, no one can come up with a countermeasure. Another lord of the scholar civilization spoke. All our offensives this year have been repelled by humans. If this continues, the human front will probably be pushed in our faces. Then let them push in, Alma responded. Or are you afraid? The communication channel fell into silence. Afraid? They are definitely not afraid. A star-level fortress can be built to compress the living space of mankind. Which of the lords present does not have the ability to squeeze the bottom of the box? Take Alma for example. His constant territory type is a very scary thing. Territory type, Sky Garden. Sky Garden. Effect, when the building you built is not touching the ground, the structural toughness increases by 10% for every 2 to the power of 2n meters. N is the battlefield level. The current battlefield is a level 7 battlefield, which means that the building built by ALMA will increase its structural toughness by 10% for every 16,384 meters above the ground. It seems that the conditions are harsh. But the sky fortresses of the lords are all built on stars. The distance between the sky fortress and the surface of the star is far more than 16,384 meters. It is not an easy task to successfully capture the sky fortress built by ALMA. It is better to say that many lords would rather let humans fight to the death to attack the sky fortress. At present, humans can't even get together a decent main fleet, and attacking the sky fortress is just a meaningless consumption of manpower. At that time, the Eldar and the Scholar civilization will be able to capture humans more easily and end their pitiful and tragic lives. After realizing this, a lord sighed heavily. If humans are really stupid to this extent, how great would it be? In reality, because the sky fortress cannot be moved, humans have not come in after 3 visits. If possible, humans must want to bypass the blockade of the sky fortress. In the general sense, this is not something that cannot be done. Therefore, all the blockades on humans on both sides are attributed to a core called the super light inhibitor in the sky fortress. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 439. Through the unique network system of the sky fortress, the superluminal inhibitor was spread into a large net. And humans are now trapped in this large net. Once anyone tries to touch the edge of this large net, they will fall into the quagmire. No engine can break through the limitations of the superluminal inhibitor, which is the fundamental reason why the Eldar and Scholars are not worried that humans can escape. Without the premise of the superluminal engine, the span of space travel will be calculated in hundreds or even thousands of years. Even if a human really did that, the consequence would be to turn himself into a living coffin floating in the universe, which is not worth mentioning. Oh! Suddenly, several data flashed in front of Gustav in the communication channel. The synapse in his brain instantly connected to the device beside him. Our conversation may have to be delayed for a while. Some little bugs broke into my territory. Then you are really lucky, Alma snorted. Whenever the 2 tribes encircled and suppressed humans, it was also the time for humans to try to break through. Because at this time, the fleets of both sides were trapped in the hinterland of humans, and only a small number of fleets were protecting the sky fortress. In the eyes of some human forces, this would be their best chance to break out. Of course, only the lords of the 2 tribes who own the sky fortress in the communication channel know how ridiculous this idea is. As an existence that has already stood at the top of the technology tree. The star-level sky fortress definitely has the terrifying power to destroy any fleet. Why can't I get a good opportunity to deal with ants? Alma muttered dissatisfiedly. However, Gustav had already exited the communication channel at this time, so naturally he couldn't hear his complaints. At this moment, Gustav has completely integrated his brain into countless information signals and regarded the information receiver as his own eyes. So he can see. Scholar civilization, outside the light meteorite peak fortress, countless ripples gradually emerged in the universe. With the violent air explosion, the figures of starships flashed into the star field. We can no longer move forward. In the fleet flagship, several commanders in dark blue uniforms sat facing each other around a round table. They belonged to the Nova United Council, and were considered a prominent joint force on the human side in this battle. After a long silence, a commander slowly spoke with his chin propped up. As we all know, the superluminal inhibitor completely limits the power of our engine. In the fortress network formed by the Eldar and the Scholars, we can hardly move forward. As he spoke, other commanders around the round table also looked at him. The speaker was a middle-aged man with a beard, and his expression was full of vicissitudes. In front of him, there was also an ID card projection, Ping Suezong, Nova United Counselor. But at this moment, no one would blame him for his inappropriate image. Because almost everyone present looked like this. The attacks of the two races have suppressed humans for too long, and leaders like them have to be tense and ready for battle almost every moment. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, Ping Xuezong continued. According to common sense, the only way to break the current predicament is to destroy the superluminal suppressor. But this is impossible. We understand the key to the superluminal suppressor, and they naturally understand the importance of the superluminal suppressor. Therefore, they will guard this core strictly and will never give us any chance to destroy it. But suddenly, Ping Xuezong changed his tone. They will never think that this time we will change the direction of attack from the past and choose another completely different sky fortress to attack. While speaking, Ping Xuezong tapped on the table with both hands, and a light curtain projection rose in front of everyone. The projection showed a sky fortress that wrapped most of the star. The fortress of the peak of the light meteorite, the sky fortress belonging to the scholar civilization, is also the location of the core photon intelligent control center. The information about this core was sent to each commander. The Photon Intelligent Control Center actually integrates multiple functions such as core, defense, and control. Among the sky fortresses of all parties, it is a rare multi-integrated core. It includes the photon force field shield that creates an indestructible barrier, the photon compressor that provides fuel for the fleet, and the most important photon communication network. The photon communication network can stretch the influence of the superluminal suppressor in a cheaper way by manipulating and entangled photons. Ping Xuezong stood up, slapped the table and said, "So, this is our goal. As long as we successfully capture this sky-supporting fortress and make the scholar civilization lose the photon communication network, the network system of the two-race alliance to suppress superluminal speed will collapse instantly. Even if the suppression network system is rebuilt later, the maintenance cost will reach an astronomical figure that the two races cannot afford." Xuezong is right. The one who responded was a female commander with waist-length black hair, and her identity card read, "Mo Chun, New Star United Counselor." And I want to add a few more points. Mo Chun looked at the people around him and said, "If we can successfully capture the Photon Intelligent Communication Center, then through the influence of the optical quantum communication network, we can even directly block the use of the superluminal inhibitor. This is a ray of hope in the cracks. By then, the sea will be wide for fish to leap, and the sky will be high for birds to fly. The two races will no longer be able to make such an effective blockade against humans." Mo Chun's words made many commanders excited. They seemed to have seen the arrival of that moment. The Nova Federation will become the hero of all human lords in this war game. Then, target the Photon Intelligent Communication Center, and attack with all forces. The command level issued an order. Countless starships with blue five-pointed stars painted on their outer armor passed through the asteroid belt and began to approach the fortress of the peak of the light meteorite. And at this moment, according to the flagship's sensors, there was almost no decent fleet guarding the outside of the fortress of the peak of the light meteorite. There were only some old model warships left by the scholar civilization. 2 or 3 of these big cats and small cats would not be able to successfully block the offensive of the Nova United Council. The Sword Force is ready to land at any time. The firepower delivery fleet is ready, free fire, repeat, free fire. However, in the fortress of the light meteorite, Gustav looked at the logo on the approaching starship and made a sarcastic sound. Nova United. A slightly stronger bug, unfortunately, it will soon become history. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mishida Di. Chapter 440. These idiots will never truly understand the power of science. As the synapses in Gustav's brain trembled several times, countless beams of light suddenly cut through the night and focused on the Nova United fleet. The hull value is declining rapidly, the airtight cabin has been penetrated, who is attacking us? Damn it, the hull is overheating, everyone abandons the ship, abandon the ship. Boom boom boom. Balls of fire emerged among the Nova United fleet. In just one strike, nearly half of the Nova Alliance fleet was destroyed here. At this time, the attacker's figure slowly appeared on the radar of Nova United. Seeing the sudden appearance of the fleet, Ping Shuizong's eyes were bloodshot, he slammed the table and stood up. Scholar Civilization's Advanced Number 2 Fleet, didn't this fleet participate in the encirclement and suppression work in the hinterland? At this moment, according to the situation displayed on the radar, they have been completely surrounded by the Advanced Number 2 Fleet of the Scholar Civilization. Countless artillery fire covered the Nova fleet that was caught off guard. Since the impact of these artillery fires was too wide, with almost no blind spots, the Nova fleet could not even do a defense, let alone a counterattack. But how is this possible? According to the fleet configuration of the Advanced 2, it is impossible for us to be so close and not notice it. As he spoke, Ping Shuizong suddenly realized something serious. That is, in the radar display, the screen of the Advanced Fleet 2 is full of light spots. Even though they have noticed the existence of this fleet, they are still suffering from interference, making it difficult for them to target it. The Advanced 2 fleet never has this capability. This capability should come from the Photon Intelligent Communication Center. Other commanders also thought of this at this time. Mo-chun looked ugly and shouted loudly, "Damn it, our intelligence never said that the Corps can also provide fleet-level optical stealth. No, it's not important anymore." Mo-chun looked ashen as he watched the Xingxing United Fleet signals being lost one by one on the screen. "We're hummed." Boom. At this time, a loud noise came from the flagship. Scarlet light instantly lit up in all cabins. Level 1 alert, the flagship is under attack. This is not an act. Repeat, this is not an act. Alert, the outer armor of the flagship has melted, please all personnel in the outer corridor gather inward. Alert, the flagship is losing power, and energy will be given priority to the life support device. Alarm. Listening to the constant alarms in his ears, Ping Shuizong wanted to say something else. At this moment, the flagship suffered another blow, and the interior of the ship began to shake violently. Ping Shuizong couldn't stand still, his head hit the command platform hard, and his whole body instantly became drowsy. The intruder has been neutralized. Looking at the almost completely destroyed Nova Alliance, Gustav gave his final evaluation. A bunch of idiots who don't know anything about physics. Their understanding of physics is far inferior to the tip of the iceberg of scholars. Scientific laws are above all else. Staring at the flagship of the Nova Alliance, just as Gustav was about to end it all, a violent explosion suddenly appeared in the Advanced 2 fleet. It was a main strike ship, the mainstay on the battlefield, but now it was turned into fragments and flew towards the shields of the surrounding friendly forces. "Humans, are you still resisting?" Just when Gustav was thinking this, he suddenly discovered that more and more explosions were occurring within the Advanced Fleet too. No, this is not something that Nova United can do. Glancing at the Xingxing United, which could only survive, Gustav instantly confirmed the current situation. A third party has entered the game. The opponent's target can never be the Nova United fleet, which has been almost completely scrapped. Then the result is obvious. The opponent's target is also his territory, the Lightfall Peak Fortress. Is it the human fleet again? A very long strike delivery distance. First, he admired the weapons level of this new fleet, and then Gustav controlled the detectors to spread out into the distance. Finally, it's not a bigger insect like Xingxing United. Hopefully, this new bug. Gustav's mind suddenly got stuck when he thought of the word worm. Because as the detector gradually spreads, in his field of vision, countless light spots representing starships were quickly emerging. 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 20,000. The fleet, like the tide of the sea, was rushing towards the fortress of the Peak of Lightfall. There were so many that even his detectors could not detect the end. Crazy, crazy, absolutely crazy. Gustav's brain was heaving rapidly. Are humans going to fight a decisive battle here? How can humans, who are now suppressed, come up with such a terrifying fleet? In Gustav's eyes, isn't this the rhythm of a decisive battle in his sky fortress? The battleship group measured in units of 10,000. Damn it, why did you choose me? He secretly said something bad. Gustav immediately sent a request for help to his current nominal allies. Immediately afterwards, he watched nervously as the wave of fleets swept closer and closer to him. In Gustav's view, the construction style of those fleets is completely different from that of most human forces today. Humans prefer to use flat warship designs, with the top and bottom and the sides as the main coverage points for firepower strikes. The warships of the fleet in front of us have a vertical hull design. The advantage of this design is that all their firepower is biased towards the front, and there is a larger area to set up the engine. The disadvantages are also obvious. In this design, all important parts are on the front, which is very easy to be penetrated by artillery fire. However, when the fleet size reaches the terrifying level of 100,000, compared with the increased firepower, this insignificant disadvantage seems to be no disadvantage. In the combat base, Lei Heshuo was sitting solemnly in front of the command desk, watching the pictures sent back by the front-line fleet. At this moment, Advanced Number 2 has confronted the Tyrannosaurus fleet head-on. As the Tyrannosaurus fleet continues to advance, it will soon enter the strike range of Advanced Number 2 fleet. Keeping distance may be a good tactic. However, Lei Heshuo gave the order to continue advancing without hesitation. It was because he saw the wreckage of countless human fleets around the light meteorite fortress. It is conceivable that the Nova Council is not the first human force to fail here. Of course, this does not include us. Lei Heshuo showed a rough smile at the corner of his mouth. They blew the horn of war, and we arrived as promised. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 441. The war has begun. Gao Qiang wiped his mouth and walked in from outside the combat base. Since entering the state of the brilliant empire, he found that the mood of his subordinates at work was really getting higher and higher. He and Zhuluo went to have a meal, but it only took 6 hours. What can you do in 6 hours? 6 hours is not enough for him to watch a longer drama, right? And this is a cosmic battlefield measured in light years, not inside a galaxy. Being able to reach the target in 6 hours, Gao Qiang even doubted whether his fellow citizens were about to smoke out their engines. At this time, Huan's hero stood up in the combat base and waved to Gao Qiang. Here, here. Hearing the call, Gao Qiang led Zhuluo and Xia to Huan's hero. Just as he was approaching Huan's hero, the light dimmed instantly, and when Gao Qiang came back to his senses, he found that he was already standing in the universe. This is because a large number of optical projections surround the command position, allowing the commander to experience the feeling of being on the battlefield in person and better command the battle situation. Huan's hero pointed to the sofa beside her. Lord, please sit down first. I'm almost there. From the pop-up window, Gao Qiang can see that the Tyrannosaurus fleet led by Lei Heshuo has made contact with the sky-holding fortress. As for Huan's hero, it was obvious that she had no intention of following Lei Heshuo. The assault fleet is moving towards another sky fortress. At this time, in the garden fortress, Alma just received Gustav's signal for help. Human fleets have appeared in a large area. Is it suspected that humans are going to kill them all? The energy field surrounding Alma fluctuated slightly for a moment. It was hard for him to imagine that humans could have such courage. If the opponent really puts all its main forces on Gustav's Lightfall fortress, the risk it will bear will be too great. If it fails, humanity will probably lose at least half of the territory it currently holds. The strength of the Peak of Lightfall can be regarded as the lowest among several Qingtian fortresses. Even if humans successfully capture it, the Eldar and scholars are confident of taking it back. It can be said that summoning all the main forces to attack the Peak of Light is definitely a very unwise decision. After a second thought, Alma still made up her mind to rescue. After all, they are nominal allies now. Even if Gustav is to be killed, it will only be after annihilating all human beings. But this also inevitably caused Alma to mock Gustav. The lords of the scholar civilization are useless. They are just a bunch of human beings. I really don't know what you are doing with such big brains. When Alma gloated, a piercing alarm suddenly sounded in the garden fortress where he was. Alert, a small number of hostile signals detected. Alert, a certain number of hostile signals have been detected. Alert, a large number of hostile signals detected. In Alma's stunned expression, the radar showed that countless red light spots were surrounding his garden fortress. Preliminary estimates put the number at least in the tens of thousands. Scholar civilization. No, it's impossible. As soon as this idea came up, Alma immediately denied her idea. Now the scholar civilization must be mainly focused on supporting Gustav's Lightfall Peak fortress, and it is absolutely impossible to send troops to attack him. In other words, is it human? While humans are attacking Gustav, there are fleets that can attack him in two threads. At the same time, a pop-up window suddenly popped up in front of Elma. You have received a newsletter. After the communication was connected, the figures of Huan's hero and Gao Qiang appeared in front of Alma. Looking at the alien creature in front of her, Huan's hero smiled, showing her small tiger teeth, and stretched out a finger. I can give you a chance to surrender. You're here, what the hell are you talking about? Listening to Huan's hero's direct words, several light spots on Alma's face enlarged, seeming to be shocked by Huan's hero's proposal. You have to know that you are only human. And I am within the alliance formed by the Eldar and scholar civilizations. You mean, a few cowards formed a coward alliance? Shasha suddenly interrupted. Listening to Shasha's apt description of the civilized alliance between the spirit tribe and scholars, everyone present smiled. Only the energy field around Elma on the opposite side of the communication gradually became unstable. It can be seen that he is not very satisfied with Shasha's description. Humans, you will pay a heavy price for your words and deeds. He had already made up his mind that he would never let these humans leave his garden fortress. Then it seems that you do not accept our good intentions. Huan's hero retracted her fingers, but did not take away the smile on her face. Okay, next, we will declare war on your ignorance. The brilliant empire has launched a full-scale war against you, the reason for the war, ignorance. What kind of humming reason is this for war? Alma's eyes widened. In his entire life, he had never seen such an outrageous reason for a total war. This reason made him feel like it was made up. However, Emma couldn't help but think about it at this time. Because the mighty fleet has rushed towards the garden fortress where he is. Although I was very happy when I said the harsh words just now. But compared to the tens of thousands of warships on the opposite side, his garden fortress was like a lone boat in the waves. If it was not done well, it would be very easy to be doomed. At this time, Alma no longer considered other things, and wholeheartedly controlled the energy field around him and combined it with the garden fortress. Instantly, countless deep shields appeared on the surface of the garden fortress. As a towering fortress, Alma certainly relied on more than just his territory type. The core he built was considered strong among several towering fortresses in terms of both defense and offensiveness. Core, quantum matrix. At this time, the first round of artillery fire from the assault fleet covered the surface of the garden fortress. Dense artillery fire exploded instantly. Looking at such terrifying dense firepower, Alma was relieved. Only because he had adjusted the quantum matrix to a defensive posture. In the defensive posture, the quantum matrix will provide two capabilities, quantum state barrier and concept field manipulator. The quantum state barrier can transfer the incoming artillery fire to a random location within the quantum entanglement range through the quantum tunneling effect. The concept field manipulator can affect the probability to a certain extent, making the probability tend to be favorable to defense. With the combination of the two, it is almost impossible to capture the garden fortress in a defensive posture. It is worth it that he spent a miracle to build the garden fortress. Tisk. Looking at the quantum state barrier rising from the garden fortress, Huan's hero curled her lips a little annoyed. The next moment, Gao Qiang saw a large number of game buttons floating in front of Huan's hero. This level looks difficult to pass.